Teammates Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez were arguing after Sunday's race at COTA. Is there something there, or is this just the product of how aggressive, how rough road course racing has become? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Early yesterday morning, I shared my initial reaction to Sunday's NASCAR race at COTA. Touched on many different topics, many different storylines. I posted that early in the morning, and by lunchtime, granted, I had a late lunch, there were over 1,000 comments on that video. Wow. That tells me that yesterday's video deserved a sequel, a follow-up. We gotta dive into a couple of those storylines a little deeper. That's what I'm gonna do here today. But first, several weeks ago, the team at AE Engine successfully launched the Daily Downforce. And now they're looking for full-time marketing talent to help launch even more programming on that platform. I've been working with AE Engine for a while, and in just the past year, we put my favorite rock band on a car. They helped me launch a new podcast with Brennan Poole. We raised a ton of money for charity with our Groovy Hollow iRacing event last October, and they even helped me put Out of the Groove on an actual NASCAR stock car. We have tons of new ideas that we're hoping to bring to life. This is where you come in. Right now, AE Engine is seeking a Director of Business Development and a Sales and Marketing Account Executive. If you have a strong passion for NASCAR and are looking for an exciting opportunity, then click the link down below to apply today. I should note these positions are remote. You can work from anywhere inside the United States. So if you love NASCAR and you think you have what it takes to be a part of the AE Engine team, the Out of the Groove team, then click that link down below to apply today. AE Engine will be replying to every inquiry they receive. Before we get to the beef between Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain, really every single Cup Series driver in the garage, I want to talk about Kurt Busch. This is something I think I glossed over a little too quickly in yesterday's video, but can we take a step back for a moment and appreciate how Kurt Busch has evolved? He has become the perfect teammate. You all have seen the clip, I'm sure, at the end of the race. I mean, Kurt Busch in the Fox broadcast booth was tearing up, getting emotional watching Tyler Reddick, driving Kurt's old car, win for 23XI Racing.
It brings me a little bit to be choked up. I was hoping to be back in that car, but it's in good hands, and it's a great team, and I love racing with those guys.
It's in good hands. Man, that has me feeling some kind of way. Kurt Busch deserves a ton of credit. He has handled everything in the past year with incredible grace. He could have been bitter, angry that a poorly designed race car and a fluke accident ended his driving career a year early. He would have had every right to be resentful, but instead, he seems to have quickly found a new purpose. He was never gonna drive race cars forever, but he's still a racer. And these past few months, he has been a mentor, a promoter. He's been everything 23XI Racing, Monster Energy, Toyota needs him to be, and more. Like he said during those closing laps, 23XI has a very bright future. They made a big investment into Tyler Reddick this past offseason. 23XI has become one of the most outspoken teams in the industry. They are helping lead the business and cultural shift behind the scenes. And I'm glad Kurt Busch is a part of that. It sounds like he has found a new purpose, he's comfortable in his new role, and he is still bringing a ton of value to that race team and to its drivers. So I just want to give Kurt Busch a sort of a round of applause because he's been through it the past, how long? 8-9 months since last summer at Pocono? A roller coaster of emotions. He still wants to get back behind the wheel of a race car, even if it's just part-time, just a few starts here and there. We can see that. But instead of getting down, being bitter, resentful, Kurt Busch has been the ultimate team player, and I think 23XI Racing is better for it. So, I don't know. I love what I've seen from Kurt Busch, really the past few years, I think, but especially now with what he's doing at 23XI. That team is lucky to have him. Now, I think we're done being sentimental for the day. It's time to get down and dirty into the trenches. The end of Sunday's race at Circuit of the Americas was a slugfest. Restart after restart after restart. That tight hairpin turn one was a little too enticing to some drivers, especially middle of the pack. Lots of physicality, lots of contact, lots of drivers getting spun out by really no fault of their own. Luckily, Tyler Reddick, the most deserving driver I believe all day, still got the victory, but behind him there were a ton of hurt feelings, including between two Trackhouse teammates. Let's go in chronological order. Here is the restart late that had Daniel Suarez so heated. You can see Ross Chastain has Chase Briscoe behind him. He gives Bowman a shot going into turn one, who gets up into Truex. Suarez loses a ton of positions as a result. Wasn't his fault. Now let's fast forward to post-race. Daniel Suarez and everybody else is pulling back onto pit road, and Suarez gives his teammate Chastain a huge shot in the rear bumper. Then he goes and hits Alex Bowman a few times with officials and others standing around. NASCAR will likely look at that contact and issue Suarez some sort of penalty, whether it's points, whether it's just a hefty fine. He's gonna get something. You can't run into each other on pit road with people standing around. That's just, you can't do that. But Daniel Suarez obviously frustrated with both Bowman and Chastain for taking such a shallow entry into one and, effectively clearing him out. I love this onboard clip from Suarez. You see Alex Bowman get out of his car, go over to Daniel, and immediately point and say, no, it wasn't me, it was that guy, it was someone over there, they hit me into you. Immediately Daniel Suarez turns his attention elsewhere. He ends up going over to his teammate, Ross Chastain. And several cameras, including this one from NASCAR, caught the two having a very animated discussion on pit road after the race. We can't really hear much of what was said, but it's safe to say neither driver was too happy with the other when it was all said and done. Eventually, reporters caught up with both drivers. Ross Chastain had the most interesting comments, though. Here's what he said to the media immediately after the race. Quote, "Daniel's mad at me for being 2 rows back. He's always mad at me. No, I shouldn't say that. He's not always mad at me, but he's mad at me for a restart." There are a couple different ways to interpret that. I don't want to read too much into it, but Ross Chastain kind of catches himself there. Oh no, he's not always actually mad at me, but he's mad in this instance. Was Chastain just emotional in that moment and said something that even he knows isn't exactly true? Or was that a slip? Maybe behind the scenes, Daniel Suarez is not a fan of Ross Chastain's driving style, vice versa perhaps. Maybe this has been a disagreement within the walls of Trackhouse for quite some time and things just kind of boiled over into the public here for the first time. Maybe that was an actual slip from Chastain, he tried to walk it back, or maybe he genuinely said something that he doesn't believe is true. I don't know, but either way, this is the first time we've seen the two Trackhouse teammates kind of at odds. Justin Marks, team owner at Trackhouse, tweeted this last night. "This Trackhouse project is about entertaining all you fans. Appreciate every one of you. Richmond next. Let's go." Not really addressing the elephant in the room, just ready to move on. I'm sure that's how both Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez likely feel today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. We know a lot of other drivers in the field don't love Ross Chastain's driving style. Denny Hamlin's made it obvious. Kyle Busch yesterday after the race just kind of threw Chastain under the bus, saying that he's not a clean racer. Now Suarez, Chastain's own teammate, may publicly feel the same way. Trackhouse is still a young team, and this is going to be a big test for young team owner Justin Marks. They've got Ty Norris over there. Both Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez are committed to Trackhouse. Trackhouse is committed to them for the long term. Gonna have to sit these guys down, make sure everyone's on the same page, make sure there's at least a mutual respect between all parties. It's supposed to be a family over there, right? Families fight? Every family fights, squabbles, little petty disagreements. The team's gonna have to make sure this doesn't grow into something bigger. I get Daniel Suarez being frustrated with Ross and Briscoe and Bowman, everything that happened behind him. Gets spun out after running top 5 all day, that stinks. But I also think Daniel Suarez needs to look in the mirror. He's an aggressive racer himself, and look at this clip from earlier in the race. He just cleans out Christopher Bell. This isn't even on a restart. This is during a green flag run. What is that? What was that move? Like, man, that's a good segue into a larger discussion about over-aggressive driving, sloppy finishes at these road course races. I read you that Ross Chastain quote earlier. That wasn't the full quote. He continued to talk about the disagreement with Daniel Suarez and his philosophy when it comes to these kinds of late race restarts. Here's more of what Ross Chastain said. "I'm getting run into, and I'm running into people. I got spun a couple restarts earlier, and he, Suarez, got it later. I didn't get mad when I got spun. I just tried to get my car to start and never thought about it again. I don't understand how we can be so upset about the crazy restarts that we're doing." Very interesting comments from Ross Chastain there. This whole over-aggressive driving argument is very frustrating. I feel like I'm shouting at a brick wall. I'm over here saying, stop using other drivers as your brakes and actually race, while all the drivers are saying, well, hey, I have to hit them first or else they're gonna hit me. It's this downward spiral. We're just going around and around in a circle, but over time, slowly but surely, the etiquette is getting worse and worse and worse, hence the downward spiral. Look, I'm off the screen. It's all the way down here. It's in the gutter. I don't want NASCAR to step in and officiate like it's F1, but I'm also tired of seeing drivers just plow through their competition and face no consequences. Let's go back to that restart where Suarez and Truex got spun and messed up. Let's dissect this for a moment. So the green flag is out. Look at the top of your screen. You've got these drivers 6, 7, 8 rows back are already looking to the inside. You got Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain. Look at how low they're in the access lane coming off pit road. There's no chance they're making this corner. Alex Bowman ahead of them sees how low they are, knows they're going to blow the corner, so he figures I'm going to come down and block because I'd rather get hit square in the back than get hit in the door. That's going to cost me even more spots. So now Bowman's down there. He backs up the corner to try and make it, to get close. And Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, they fly in and basically use Bowman as their brakes. Bowman gets knocked up into Truex, into Suarez. That's what causes the wreck. And let's pause right here. Let's pause at this frame. Ross Chastain comes out 4th. Meanwhile, Martin Truex Jr., Daniel Suarez, who were innocent bystanders, Daniel Suarez's only crime was trying to take an actual racing angle into the corner. They're both way back here, losing tons of positions. Truex is facing the wrong way, and they didn't do anything to deserve it. It took absolutely no skill for Ross Chastain and Chase Briscoe to drive it in really, really low, really, really shallow, use Bowman as their brakes, but they went all the way down there because they felt like they had to. I mean, you saw Chris Buescher was low behind them. If Bowman, Chastain, Briscoe don't go all the way down to the apron there, somebody else would have taken advantage of them. That's the philosophy right now. And it's really frustrating. It's not the racing etiquette that I grew up watching. It's not the style of racing that I want to see as frequently as we have been seeing it going forward. I don't know what the answer is. It's not something that happens every single week, but we've seen it happen at a few road courses now in the past year or two. It happened at the Clash earlier this year, and I know that's a special event. You're expected to trade some paint, but it was unwatchable for a time. There were so many angry Cup drivers after this week's race. Just some of these good quotes. Ryan Preece probably had the best quote. "I got wrecked by a bunch of hacks. This comes down to a lack of respect. I get so frustrated because growing up, a lot of these guys, they just pay their way and don't respect cars. What happens going into turn 1? They just run into everyone and they ruin days. Someone needs an ass kicking, that's for sure." Oh, Ryan Preece, tell us how you really feel. Alex Bowman said, quote, "It's so dumb how we have to race each other. It's not okay by any means, but it's what we do. It's somewhat embarrassing." Both Jenson Button, who comes from F1, Jordan Taylor, who comes from IMSA, sounded a bit startled by the amount of contact, the physical racing that NASCAR road courses has become. Jenson Button said it felt a bit silly. I don't know what the solution is, but it's something I think we should continue to talk about. Hopefully the drivers at some point begin to hold each other accountable, within the rule book. This is why the whole Denny Hamlin penalty debate from last week is very relevant, because Denny Hamlin tried to take things into his own hands, tried to enforce some level of driver etiquette, driver code. But because he admitted to it on a podcast, went about the wrong way, he got hit with the penalty. So there is a way, apparently, to retaliate and wink wink, make it look like an accident, but it's a very small box NASCAR's put these drivers in. We're not in the boys have at it days, but NASCAR says they want the drivers to police themselves within a fairly tight box, a narrow window. I do hope certain drivers begin to stick up for themselves. I hope the etiquette starts to change, but I'm not convinced it will. I think the next gen cars being a little tougher, a little sturdier, that's just exacerbated an already existing problem. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Again, many of you shared your opinions on yesterday's video, but I want to take a deeper dive into a couple of these subjects. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about the Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez disagreement? Is there something there? Is it a whole lot of nothing? Share your thoughts. But that'll do it for this episode. If you enjoyed, please leave it a like. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new and you love NASCAR, hit that subscribe button. It's somewhere down below, I believe. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your continued and very generous support. I will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching.